What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, YouTube exclusive. I'm Will Brinson, joined by Ryan Wilson, John Breach, Sean Wagner-McGough. We're about to take a look ahead at the Week 13 NFL lines early release on Sunday night. We do this every Sunday, so make sure and hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. CBS Sports. It's a big deal, no big deal. You can do that. You can check out this, plus other great videos from our library of content. Also, hit subscribe. Go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe to the Pick Six Podcast and get more football and mirth 8 times a week, 8 shows a week. Go there, check it out. Let's dive into the lines. Bears, -1. Oh, Thanksgiving's here. We got football, 3 games of football on a Thursday at Thanksgiving. How delightful. Except the first game is Bears at Lions, which is basically like taking a turkey and then getting all the tryptophan out of it and then shooting it straight into your arm because you're going to fall asleep before the first quarter. Watch Mitchell Trubisky and Jeff Driscoll battle it out at quarterback. The Bears are favored -1. I don't think a starter has been announced, but we know Matthew Stafford's not playing. He has a bad back, Ryan. They're going to shut him down. What do you like early in this game for the matinee Thanksgiving setup?
Look, here's all you need to know. I was on the bandwagon for the bearded coach there who hates media members. I was off it. I was on it. I'm off it again. Matt Patricia, I'm done with you. This team started 2-0-1. I believed in them. They have lost 4 straight, 7 of their last 8. They are a terrible football team. You may have heard this fun fact. Jim Caldwell was 9-7 in back-to-back years. He got fired last year. Matt Patricia, as a rookie head coach, won 6 football games. It is utterly disrespectful that they're even this close in terms of the spread with the Bears. Mr. Trubisky is back. And when I say back, I mean he's back on the starting lineup after getting benched weirdly at the end of the game last week for Chase Daniel. He played okay. He didn't play terribly against the Giants. The running game still somehow doesn't work against that terrible Giants defense. It doesn't matter against the Lions. Jeff Driscoll threw 3 picks against the Redskins. There's no way Matt Patricia's out-coaching Matt Nagy, ball head, and visor cap.
Ryan, I could not agree with you more. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, I'm at the same table with you. It's probably the kids' table, but I am right there. I think Ryan would have a better chance winning an arm wrestling match against an actual bear than Jeff Driscoll will have against this Bears defense. You know what? We already saw this happen 2 weeks ago, or in week 10, when the Bears played the Lions. The Bears won 20-13. Jeff Driscoll was a disaster. The game was 20-6 before the Lions got a garbage touchdown late. The NFL could just cancel this game, replay that game on Thanksgiving morning so that Matt Patricia and the Lions can spend time with their families, because that's what's going to happen. There's no way Driscoll's going to be able to move the ball. And even though Mitchell Trubisky hasn't looked great, all he has to do is get to 14 points, maybe 17 points, and the Bears are going to win and cover this 1-point spread. As Ryan said, this is nonsense that it is this close. I would have thought the Bears have been favored 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 points. So I love the Bears in this spot. I don't think Jeff Driscoll and the Lions offense will move the ball at all.
Yeah, look, the only reason this game is a good thing is because it's it's an excuse to start drinking early, especially for me, who is unfortunately a Bears fan. I do agree with both of these guys. The thing I want to add, though, is I love the under in this game because even though Trubisky played okay by his standards, that's by his standards. That's not saying much. The Bears still only scored, 19 points. They left a lot of points out there on the field that if they had a good quarterback, if they had a good play caller, I think they would have taken advantage of those openings. So I don't trust this Bears offense still. And the Bears defense, even though, as Brinson's going to remind you, they have in fact regressed like everyone like him predicted, they're still playing pretty good. Khalil Mack finally got back on the stat sheet. Had a strip sack. So I like the under in this game between 2 terrible quarterbacks. And I do like the Bears to win this game. It's really tough to trust them because Trubisky could go out there and he could play like he did on Sunday, which is okay by his standards, or he could go out there and play worse than Jeff Driscoll. So I'd probably stay away from the line, but I do like the under a lot.
I'm with you, Sean, although I'm not going to go so far as to admit that I start drinking in the morning on a day that I'm supposed to be working. God, what's the matter with you? Woo! Anyway, so I was going to point out that I also like the under as well. I think it's 40 in some spots. If it's 40, it's a hammer job. If it's 39, I still really like it. I would take it for 2 units at 39. It is going to keep coming down. It will get down to 37 or 36.5. This is going to be a low scoring game. I think the Bears could put up some points against this Lions defense, which allowed the Redskins. I mean, Dwayne Haskins had all kinds of open throws on Sunday for the Redskins. I mean, against the Lions defense, excuse me. Dwayne Haskins had all kinds of overthrows for the Redskins. But I don't think the Bears will be interested in trying to run up the score or trying to turn it into a shootout. They're going to grind it out with David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, and I like the under a lot in this spot early in Thanksgiving. Our next game on CBS, the big, you have a little appetizer and you got some desserts, but you want the turkey. You want the big meaty turkey. Well, this is the big meaty turkey on CBS. It's the Bills at the Cowboys. 2 playoff teams enter. Jason Garrett's job on the line. Ace coach Sean McDermott in the other corner. Cowboys favored by 7. The over-under is 45. John, who do you like in this spot?
Well, Sean just mentioned the early morning drinking. I think the odds makers started drinking 5 days early because how is a team coached by Jason Garrett favored by 7 points? This is insanity. There is no way the Cowboys should be favored by 7 over an 8-3 Bills team. And I would have you know that I mentioned their record because that means they are a team with a winning record. You know who can't beat teams with winning records? The Dallas Cowboys. They played the Vikings this year. They lost. They played the Saints this year. They lost. They played the Packers this year. They lost. We just saw them lose to the Patriots on Sunday. That is 4 games against teams with a winning record and 4 losses. Now, I am not sure I'm ready to pick the Bills in an upset here, but I am absolutely going to take them to cover the spread if it sticks at 7. Probably even down to 6, I'm going to take the Bills to cover.
Yeah, I'm with Breach. I think the Cowboys win this game, but it's really tough to pick a Jason Garrett coach team to win by more than a touchdown. I mean, if you look at this team's talent level, you feel like they should be 8-11, somewhere around there. The fact that they're only a game over 500 really speaks to just how bad they are in the coaching department, because they have the number 1 offense in football with Dak Prescott, who up until playing the Patriots, who's pretty much shut down everyone except Lamar Jackson, he's been playing like an MVP candidate. And so the fact that they're wasting this offense, I don't think I can take them to actually win by more than 7 points against a team that actually has a better record than them. The one thing I'll say, though, is that I think Zeke could be in for a big game. The Bills defense, while, they have been very good under Sean McDermott, not very good against the run this year. 6th worst against the run by DVOA entering the week. So I think Zeke could be in for a big game, maybe a low-scoring game if the Cowboys go ultra-conservative, as they like to do under Jason Garrett, and just pound the rock. So I think the Cowboys win because they're at home. They don't have to deal with weather like they struggled with in Foxborough. But winning by more than a touchdown when Jason Garrett wants to kick field goals instead of going for 7, I can't do that.
Here's where I'm starting the conversation. This is from our buddy Jared Dubin. He tweeted this after the Cowboys lost to the Patriots. He's a huge Cowboys homer. He writes, the Cowboys have 9-2 talent and 2-9 coaching, and that's why they're 6-5. That tells you all you need to know about the Cowboys. It starts with Jason Garrett, who is a doo-doo coach, and he makes a lot of terrible decisions. The spread is -7. If that means that the Cowboys are going to punt 7 more times than any other team they face, then I'm all in on that. But I'm with Breach and Sean. Not only do I like the Bills to cover, however, I think they can win this game. They are 8-3 with Josh Allen, who is playing relatively well. Imagine if Dak Prescott was the quarterback for the Bills. That team would be undefeated. They're doing this with Josh Allen. Let me repeat that. Sean McDermott's doing a great job as a coach. You may or may not know this. He went to William & Mary. I went to William & Mary with him. So that gives him another -2, -3 points there. I like the Bills to win, and I think Jerry Jones is actually going to throw the turkey at Jason Garrett after this game on Thursday.
The Dallas Cowboys have played a lot of games on Thursdays in late November. Over their last 5 games, they are 2-3 against the spread. They did actually cover last year as a 7-point favorite against Washington on Thanksgiving. They lost straight up to the Chargers the year before that, covered against the Chiefs prior to that, and I remember in 2016, barely beat the Washington Redskins, although they did not cover. And before that, they lost to the Panthers on Thanksgiving in a year in which we all thought Jason Garrett was going to be fired right after Thanksgiving. Turned out not to be the case. He's been evading Jerry Jones forever. I think he's in trouble. This team does, however, respond pretty well when Jason Garrett gets his back up against the wall. For whatever reason, they seem to step up. Maybe Jason Garrett decides to be a little bit more bold. I think this happens every year. I would lean Bills +7. I think I like the over a little bit more because John Brown and Josh Allen have been cooking with gas lately. The Cowboys secondary, not that great. You can expose them deep. But I agree, Zeke Elliott is going to be a smash factor when it comes to DFS situations. He's going to run the ball really well. Buffalo gives up a ton of explosive runs, and this could be a great spot for him with play action to Dak Prescott. So I would probably lean to the Bills +7, but my pick out of the gates would be the over 45 in this game. The final game on Thanksgiving night features two bitter NFC South rivals. It appeared as if this might be an interesting game, and then the Falcons decided they figured out it was midnight, got blown out by the Buccaneers at home. They are hosting the Saints, who they beat a few weeks back. Saints -7 at Falcons. A full touchdown road favorite in a divisional game, over under 49.5. Sean, what are you looking at here?
Well, it turns out the Falcons defense still sucks. And we thought there was that 2-game mirage. They rearranged the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. We thought, oh, maybe this actually worked. Maybe it was about play calling and all this. No, they still suck. And so if you look at what they did against the Buccaneers, they were only pretty much good when Jameis Winston was throwing them the ball, which is probably more about Jameis Winston, who already has 20 interceptions this year, than about the Falcons defense. And then you look at what Chris Godwin was able to do against that Falcons defense, which was go for somewhere around 30 fantasy points. You look at why can't Michael Thomas do that? And so I love the Saints in this game. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think what we saw from the Falcons the previous 2 weeks was a complete mirage. They are as bad as we thought they were going into the past few weeks when they were making all those coaching changes without actually firing the problem, which is Dan Quinn. So I like the Saints to win big. I actually think it's going to go over, though, because the Saints defense on Sunday actually kind of got, I don't want to say torn up, but the Panthers with their backup quarterback with Cam Newton out, they actually moved the ball pretty well and they put up points. So I think the Falcons can hang. I think Matt Ryan can do some damage in garbage time, but I do like the Saints to win big here because the Falcons, that 2-game stretch, just ignore what they did there. They are as bad as we thought they were.
Yeah, the Saints going to win in a blowout. Drew Brees hasn't looked great. He's actually looked mortal the last few weeks. He didn't look on point against the Panthers, and they could have very easily lost that game if not for some terrible field goal kicking there at the end. But I'll just say this. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense ain't good. They sacked Matt Ryan 6 times. They harassed him all day. The Falcons' offensive line played terribly. I think the Saints are going to steamroll that offensive line, get after Matt Ryan. That's my only concern in terms of the point total. But I have no problems at all with the Saints -7. I think they cover that probably at halftime and then cruise to victory in that last Turkey Day game.
I would love to agree with you two that this is going to be a blowout, but this is exactly what we were saying 2 weeks ago, that the Saints were just an absolutely blow out the Falcons, and the Falcons went out there and just hit New Orleans with an uppercut. They beat them 26-9. They absolutely dominated the game. So the Falcons have been unpredictable since they came back from the bye. They beat the Panthers, they beat the Saints, but they lost to the Buccaneers Sunday, and that was an ugly loss. So are we going to see the Falcons team that just hammered the Saints 2 weeks ago? I do think that Atlanta can give them the game, and I do think that 7 points is right around where I think it will be. Sean and Ryan think it's going to be a blowout. I would probably lean Saints to cover this just because they're going to be out for revenge after they're not going to be caught sleeping at the wheel against the Falcons this time. So I think I'm leaning Saints here. And one Thanksgiving Day fun fact, the under has hit in every Thanksgiving primetime game since 2014, including last year when these two teams played in the Thanksgiving primetime game. So I would not be surprised to see the under hit again.
What a great segue into my choice, which is also the under. And I don't know if Breach's fun fact is true because these guys are eating a bunch of turkey and then going out and playing football, but it's entirely possible. Also of note, 6 times since 2011, because this is how the math works. The Saints and the Falcons have played, right? Sort of works out. And in those games, the under's 5-1. I don't know. That's good math. I don't know. Anyway, I was trying to find. Wait, why would that not be right? Why are you looking at me like that's funny, Ryan? That makes sense. Oh, in November, excuse me. That's what the catch was. 6 times in November. I knew there was something going on there. These teams have played. The under is 5-1 in those spots. When you look at Atlanta and New Orleans, you think tons of points, tons of scoring. But the reality is the Saints like to run the ball. I think they will try and grind out a big win. I think they'll get up. And we saw Matt Ryan. If you can get up on those guys and you can force them to become one-dimensional and stop them from running the football, I don't know if Matt Ryan has his fastball anymore. He doesn't throw it deep either. I mean, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley were wide open. It looks like Matt Ryan's lost some speed on that. I will take the under 49.5 here as well. Shoot that tryptophan in my veins. 49ers at the Ravens, a huge game. Potential Super Bowl preview even. Super Bowl rematch preview type of thing. Ravens minus 4.5. The over-under is 46, Ryan. Who are you taking in this blockbuster?
I am driving the Lamar Jackson bandwagon. Been on it for a month now. Knowing that, I'm taking the 49ers to cover, and I love the under. This game is going to be nuts. We're watching the 49ers absolutely destroy Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. That game was over after the first series when they got the ball at the 2, scored. Nothing they could do with the Packers after that. This defense is legit. The only issue is San Francisco now has to travel across the country, play in Baltimore, and we know that the Ravens are top-notch, arguably the best team in the AFC. I love Lamar Jackson, but you can get after him. Don't forget the Steelers forced him into 3 interceptions. He wasn't great in that game. So there are games where he's not at his tip-top best. He'll still run for 85 yards, still hit his tight ends, but I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. Jimmy G is playing better than we were willing to give him credit for. I think the Ravens do eke out the win, but I think the 49ers cover.
Yeah, I think Ryan just hit the nail on the head that, yes, the 49ers defense is fantastic and has been great this season. But if they've had one weakness, it is going up against mobile quarterbacks. We saw them struggle twice against Kyler Murray. When they played Arizona, Murray was running circles around him. Sure, the Cardinals didn't win, but the Cardinals are a bad team. The fact that Kyler Murray was even able to keep them in the game was a minor miracle. And then we saw them go up against Russell Wilson. They did a little bit better job against Russell Wilson, but still, Russell Wilson ran circles around him in overtime, set up a game-winning field goal, and right now that's the 49ers' only loss of the season. And so now they have to go against Lamar Jackson, who is kind of a Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson combination of craziness. I don't know that their defense is set up to be able to stop a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. Plus, I feel like the 49ers have the deck stacked against them this week. They're playing on Sunday night against the Packers. Then they have to fly across the country in week 13 to go to Baltimore for a game that kicks off at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I just think that's a lot to overcome. So I like the Ravens, and I like them to cover here.
Yeah, I agree with Breach, and I don't want to disrespect the 49ers, but look, everyone knows about Lamar Jackson. We don't have to get into that. Apparently, Ryan thinks he's the only one on the Lamar Jackson bandwagon. Breaking news, Ryan. He's the MVP frontrunner. Everyone likes Lamar Jackson. The Ravens defense, though, there's a reason why we're talking about the Ravens now is maybe the most complete team in football. This defense is really coming to their own before Monday night. They're allowing 16 points per game the past 6 weeks. So I think the 49ers might have some trouble to keep up with Lamar. Everything that Breach said about mobile quarterbacks, I mean, we thought going into the Patriots game that the Patriots might have an answer for Lamar Jackson. It looks like he's matchup proof. And, Ryan's talking about he struggled against the Steelers. It seems like a lot of Lamar's issues came earlier in the season. And since this defense also started gelling, he's been unstoppable too. So I actually like the Ravens to win and cover this. And I do kind of like the under. I think both these teams might run the ball a lot. I think the clock might be moving a lot. So I like the Ravens to win. And I also like the under.
I just like to point out that I was the first person to ever start liking Lamar Jackson, which is the most ridiculous thing you could ever say. What do you mean, Ryan? You're like, I'm driving the Lamar Jackson bandwagon. You got on it before, after the season started. Get out of here. You're like in an abandoned lot behind the wheel of this bus with no wheels on it. And you're like, I'm on the Lamar Jackson bandwagon, everybody. And everybody's looking at Ryan like, what is this guy? What is this old man talking about? I will. I think. I would say this. I'm probably holding off in this game unless I really like the 49ers. If you like the 49ers in this game, take it now because I actually think, and I guess it depends too on what you think will happen on Monday night. Between the Rams and the Ravens. If the Rams at home as underdogs were to upset the Ravens, this line would be a lot closer to a field goal. So if you can find 4.5 and you think that the Rams will keep it close, go ahead and hit it at 4.5 plus 4.5 for the 49ers. And maybe you can get yourself a nice little middle if it ends up being 2.5 or something like that. But it's going to be an awesome game. I don't really have a huge lean either way. I would probably take the 4.5 points. But after seeing, I think San Francisco is just better than Houston, who had a similar matchup. So I would lean towards San Francisco, but I need to see how everything unfolds. First, final game that we'll talk about, the Vikings, my Vikings. See, this is how a bandwagon works, Ryan. I've been on the Vikings bandwagon since before the season. I picked them to win the whole thing. No one else did. It's me, not you. Vikings at Seahawks, Kirk Cousins in primetime, Seahawks -3, over under 49. John, what do you think about this, noting that Ryan has to speak last, meaning he has to sit there and hold his tongue for 5 full minutes?
Brinson, I think that back in July, I handmade the Vikings bandwagon and then started driving it, and then you jumped on in the trunk. So I'm not going to listen to this. You talking down to Ryan and talking down that you were the original Vikings fan. Here's the thing about this game is that if you would have asked me a month ago who I thought was going to win Vikings-Seahawks Monday night in Seattle, I would have picked the Seahawks by probably 100 because this was a classic Kirk Cousins can't win game. Playing a team that has a winning record, playing a team in prime time. Those are two situations where Kirk Cousins never wins. But you know what? Now he's winning these big games, and he's putting up big numbers, and he's playing impressively, things that just didn't seem possible a month ago. So I'm not worried about Kirk Cousins in this spot anymore, which makes me think that the Vikings could maybe come out and win this game. Plus, the Seahawks home field advantage hasn't been such a great home field advantage. They used to never lose at home. This season, 3-2, straight up, 1-4 against the spread. So this is a game that I think the Vikings can absolutely go in and steal. And so I'm not sure if I'm ready to pick the upset, but I am confident that the Vikings are going to cover the 3 points.
Yeah, look, I love everything the Vikings are doing, and I even had Kirk Cousins at number 5 in my latest quarterback power rankings. And I think Brinson had him on an MVP ballot, and I think it's completely warranted. He's a quarterback of one of the best teams in football. That said, if you're asking me in prime time against a winning team where the other quarterback is Russell Wilson, I do like the Seahawks in this game. But what I like more than the line is the under. I think both these teams are going to come out and run the ball like crazy. We all know about Brian Schottenheimer and Pete Carroll. They love to establish the run. I think the Seahawks right now, the defensive front right now is banged up, as we saw against the Eagles. So I think the Vikings will come out and lean on Dalvin Cook. And so I think this is going to be a field goal type of game. It's funny, if you look at the Seahawks, even though their record's really impressive, every game they play is kind of a one-score game where the ball ends up in Russell Wilson's hands, you feel like, and he gets a chance to make a play. And that's why I like the Seahawks. I feel like I would rather have Wilson as the quarterback who needs to go make a play. But I do think this is a field goal type of game. It wouldn't shock me if the Vikings won it. But I do like the under. I think both teams are going to go run heavy until the fourth quarter when, whoever's trailing needs to go get a score.
The only way I'm jumping on the Vikings bandwagon is if Lamar Jackson's their quarterback. I'll just leave it at that. Secondly, I think Sean is absolutely wrong. I love the over at 49. I think what's going to happen is that the Vikings are actually going to score early, and they're going to use the weapons. I'm not sure if Thielen will be back yet, but they have Stephon Diggs. Irv Smith's starting to play a little more. Kirby Cousins is playing out of his mind, and Sean and Brinson are both right. He deserves some MVP nods. And I think once they get ahead, then Schottenheimer's going to have to turn off his headset. Russell Wilson will take over and start throwing bombs, and they'll get back in the game. It'll be close. I'm not willing to pick a winner yet because this game, I think, is going to be really, really close. But I love the over of 49, and go Lamar Jackson.
I got that over is shockingly high. Like, it's set higher than you think it would be. But Kirk Cousins, look, this is the next. People move the bar all over the place, right? They got to decide, what does Kirk have to do not to have people call him Kirby anymore? Well, he has to go to Seattle in primetime. He has to beat the Seahawks. I love the Vikings in this spot. Seattle, Russell, well, actually, you know what? No, I don't. What am I talking about? I'm not betting on Kirk Cousins over Russell Wilson in a primetime game. Are you nuts? Russell Wilson in primetime? I'm not fading him in primetime with Kirk Cousins. I'll talk myself into doing it by the time Sunday night or Monday night or whatever it is rolls around. But right now, I've got a sensible, clear head. And I'm saying take Russell Wilson, lay the points, because the Seattle Seahawks are rolling right now, and they'll figure out a way to get this win. I'm with Ryan, though. I think we could see some scoring in this game. Dalvin Cook, some explosive runs, plenty of play action. Maybe Adam Thielen's back in time, and Russell Wilson will be able to throw against his bad secondary. If Brian Schottenheimer doesn't clog things up with the run game and lets them uncork, I think we see a ton of points in this game. All right, that'll do it for us. That's a look ahead. Again, make sure and subscribe on YouTube. Bang that little subscribe button down there. And then go to Apple Podcasts and hit subscribe and get the Pick Six Podcast delivered to your inbox, your earphone inbox 8 times a week, every morning, ready for your commute. Talk to you guys next week. See you on the Sunday recap.